All right, I'm going
Not in a
to
party.
PM. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please.
Lehman,
Here.
Underwood,
Here.
Gilman,
Here.
Corn, here, Hazel.
Here. Next item is approval of agenda. I did want to bring something up for the board's consideration. Item 6C, manager compensation. I know it's on the agenda, but I don't know if this is the right time to discuss it or whether we should discuss it at a different meeting.
At a meeting where we can take action.
That would be my inclination as
So this
well.
is just a work session, so yeah, it's not a.
Yeah.
Let's delete that.
Okay, so can I get a motion to amend the agenda to remove 6C?
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Gilman, support by Commissioner Corn to remove item 6C from the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Underwood, support by Commissioner Corn to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have an agenda.
I have a quick question on that agenda item, just for clarification.
Hmm.
Is that a contract that we're gonna be looking at and approving at that time? Is that what the,
I think we want to just, yeah, that would be a discussion whether it should be a contract, whether it should be something else.
okay,
All right.
so that means that we wouldn't have a contract presented to us in that agenda packet or anything along those.
Well, we'll bring a draft contract and have the board discuss it at that time.
Okay, so
If
that's the idea about it.
Yeah, if the board's position is that we should have this discussion where we can actually make a decision, then we could bring a contract and the board can decide whether it wants to approve a contract or whether it wants to just do something different.
Okay.
Does that sound reasonable to everyone?
Sure thing, Chair.
Okay.
So the preparation would be by our attorney, so I guess are we contacting her for preparing a document or?
Yeah, I think we have some,
It might not be a bad idea to have
Yeah.
some fill in the blanks ready.
I think we have a contract template that we can work on.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
All right, item 4, does any member of the board have any conflict of interest regarding any item on the agenda?
I don't, but that contract needs to include Dan working at least 80 hours a week. We could add that in with an 8-day-a-week clause.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just wanted to show that. We have it. I'm gonna make him smile eventually.
There is no public comment. No one on the Zoom, I'm assuming.
No.
Okay, so we'll get on to 6A, 3-year road project plan. So you have before you 2 sheets.
So right now you only have 1 year in front of you for 2025,
But we know someone won't make it until 3 years from now, right?
we did work on the 3-year today. And I think we need to make a few more tweaks to it. So I'd like to bring that at the November meeting.
So it looks like, from page 1, all the planned projects for the most part are maintenance, right? Routine maintenance, chip seal, crack seal.
Preservation, yeah.
Yeah,
First page is completely.
Right.
Preservation, chip seal and crack seals.
okay, so that's pretty routine stuff.
Village money, correct?
So if you look at the end there, we did fill in what the funding source is.
Yeah, millage, yep.
Someone's watching.
So this is 1 year. And these are the ones that came up with the asset management plan of kind of filling in that sort of progress that you guys wanted to make.
Yeah, some of these are in the rotation of roads that were paved. We're trying to do that preservation, get back on them. Some of them are roads that were done a while ago and we know we need to get back on chip sealing them before we've gone too far.
That makes sense.
or they've gone too far, we can't do anything with some.
Some of them never had the post-construction chip seal. So, particularly some local roads, so
Mhm.
those are getting done.
So are these, like all these projects on page one, are there on some sort of a rotation that every so many years we do this work on these roads?
That would be the ultimate goal to get. to
But
that
what
point.
about these projects we are talking about? Are they projects that were on some sort of a schedule that, or how were they selected, I guess I should ask?
Right, so these are roads that we've just recently paved or roads that were paved, in the last, I don't know how many years going back, but it's road 4 or 5 years. It's roads that we know that we could get on and do the chip seal, where when Larry came in, we talked about how you can extend it out, 7 years by doing chip seal. These roads still clarify as that they're good roads to do that too. And if we let them go much further, some of the roads, then it doesn't make sense to do it anymore.
And are we doing chip seal and fog on top, or we?
Yes.
Yep, they're all fog seals on top.
So these are roads that based upon the gentleman who was the presenter at the last meeting, these are the roads where chip seal or chip and crack seal would increase the road life, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because they are still in that range where you can do this work and.
It makes sense, yeah.
Okay.
I think Lakeshore Drive is the outlier to that.
Is it on here?
Yeah.
And to me, that's a complete waste of money on Lakeshore Drive.
Is this fun?
Oh, right here. Yeah, right.
We did a little bit of wedging on that. I don't know how much we spent.
I don't have that.
I believe this is one where we're kind of testing out to see what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we were doing. That's what my understanding was, that I think we talked about it to see if that.
Try a little preservation, but
Yeah.
even though
On
we
a
know.
road that's already shot.
Although I thought we
Yeah.
were talking about wedging.
No, there's no wedge in it.
This is chip seal.
This is where we have to start. If you want to do something.
I
like
want to
that,
try,
you-
I think this is
You
worth
could
doing.
wedge it first. And the wedging's gonna need $300,000.
Okay.
And that's not on the budget for the second page.
Well, so that brings us to our second page. Why don't we just close Town Line for a year? And take that money, partially, some of it, take care of doing it right for Lakeshore, that we have to wedge it. And then move the other money around to other preservation projects that'll get us a little more ahead of the game.
Lakeshore driving a local road would need township match, and they have no funding to bring to the road.
We can't move any around.
And we just,
Town Line Road is a
Where
local
is
road. Town Line Road is a local road.
The big thing with Town Line Road is we're shutting down 3 miles, that's gonna be a lot of
They
traffic.
go to Garfield.
That's in 25, in 26, we're shutting Hammond Road down. And we'll be taking all the traffic down there, and then I think is it 27, we're looking at South Airport. From Town Line down there, so that's Town Line in the next few years is going to be your main cut through.
No way should Town Line have a $1.7 million spent on it.
Where, I'm sorry that I'm not finding that quickly.
It's on this page with less.
It's on the, it's, I think,
Oh,
yeah, you're.
Okay, I
you
feel
have
better
it.
now.
Well, I think Jason and I at the construction committee meeting back in May talked to Dan and Derek about this. And we absolutely, I don't think they read the tea leaves on this, absolutely wanted to cap that road at $750,000. And I suggested some ways to do it, and they apparently don't believe that's the right thing to do. But if you want to quick cap it for a couple $100,000, fine. But I don't think there's any way we could justify reconstruction of that road for $1.7
Can you
million.
explain what you mean by quick capping?
A wedge, like a wedge that well, it would just true it up. It's not a very good road, right? We agree it's not a very good road.
Right.
But you kind of run the paver down there and take up some of the bumps, and it takes, how long is it there? How long is Town Line?
About a mile, a little over a mile,
Okay, and how wide do you think it is?
probably 22, 23.
Okay, so there's a calculation you could use, and you put it down, you put the material down, your paver kind of bumps the high spots and the bad spots. And you kind of fill those in on the first run. And then you go back and you pave it with 1.5 inches like we do with an overlay.
So what if let's just hypothetically say that if that's the option, you said it's under a million, like 750,000.
Well, no, I think that would be 250,000.
200, okay. How much,
the big
what
cost-
kind of life does it have?
Well, we've done that, well, other counties have done that on other roads. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I would say 2 to 10 years.
And our big cost
That's a
is
huge
still,
range.
still the culvert. that we have to
I was gonna
do,
say,
right?
It's,
that not.
Our big cost is the
that
culvert.
would be not including the culverts. And the culvert hasn't failed, and if we're gonna reconstruct it, we're gonna have to put a culvert in. If we're gonna overlay it,
That's a good point.
if we're gonna overlay it for use, we do not have to put a culvert in.
Did we get the approval from Eagle for a culvert for Town Line Road? Because I know that was,
Yep, we got approval.
Yeah, and if we can get away without doing that, we can keep the cost down to next to nothing.
Oh,
I'll tell you, I mean, that money in other preservation projects, will get us a lot further down the road.
Well,
it's 5 years. It's a
Is-
5-year approval.
is the existing culvert in danger of failing?
It's the worst part of that road is where the culvert is. I can't speak.
There's,
Of the road,
there's no room between the road and the culvert there. There's,
Very well covered.
it's very low cover.
it's right. Gotcha.
Could that be addressed through what is being proposed?
Can you do the culvert, make the rest of the road dirt?
Yeah, we're not turning any roads
Dirt
dirt
road.
or gravel, so let's just have a conversation based on what we have in front of us.
Yeah, I won't vote for I'm not gonna support a 1.7 million on myself. I can't. Just.
I'm curious about the widening for the paved shoulders, just so I understand that a little bit more. When I see that noted on the projects, that means wider than it exists right now, right?
Yeah, not
Yeah.
projects.
Yeah, there's on
For
the
Town Line
Road,
Road, it's widened for paved.
3 Mile Road and Cass Road. So that's saying that right now, whatever we have for a shoulder,
There is no shoulder.
okay, there is no shoulder. Okay. I mean, Town Line, like everybody else, I avoid driving it. I go on it very, very rarely, but yeah, it seemed to me that it was dirt right up to the road, right? So this project and the 3 Mile Road and Cass Road project include adding more asphalt to the side, which I'm assuming is because it makes it last longer. It doesn't, right? But that also probably has a lot of cost to it because of the asphalt and shoring that up. So if we widen Town Line Road, or if we did what Alan was talking about, we're not talking about widening it. We're talking about just going over I hear what you say. The first run is like
Dragging it out
filling the,
and covering it.
Fill the holes,
yeah.
fill in the gaps and holes.
Yeah,
It just, how can we take a local road? We have a policy, how we address local roads. And how can we take, we had people on the peninsula who 6 years have listened to us say, we don't have the money for local roads like that. How can we just turn around and have the money for a local road?
well, that's a very good question. I mean, I see here that we are getting we are funding 74% of the 1.7 million. What's the plan to get 74% of 1.7 million? Where's that money coming from?
That's the millage.
But at what expense would that impact the routine maintenance and preservation work on the other roads that?
If we choose not to do Town Line Road, we can choose another project. We could do. There's not a lot of chip seals left to do. We could find some more chip seals. We could start looking at some other roads to overlay, something like that.
Well, no, that's not what my question. My question is this going to be at the expense of any other work on local roads that do need work?
Would you get farther down your list?
Right.
And I think we do.
Yeah.
If we do 250 rather than 1.7 million, let's just put it in that context.
Maybe by 250.
Yeah,
We should budget it out, but it's something that's not
Less than
very
1.7 million. It's less than 1.7.
It's less than 1.7 million, right?
Yeah, we could do the math here.
Yeah.
Well, it's not super expensive. I'm just saying it's out of formula. We asked different partners who want us to improve the road, East Bay Township, and the airport for help. And they said it's not in their plans. So we initially had looked for plans for help from partners in the project.
I'm really surprised the airport didn't find a way.
And we talked about where we have partners is a good place to invest our money. We can't seem to find a partner for this. Maybe someday that would be not a local road anymore. And then it would qualify for a federal funding or a transportation initiative funding from the MPO.
There is a partner, the township 13%, which is kind of a little confusing for me as to, I
It's our
thought,
money.
yeah, I thought it was
That's our
25%. It's 25, it was 25%, wasn't it? Those resolutions that came out, weren't they talking about
Yeah, but they
25%?
were basically committing the money
Our-
you guys set aside.
matching, right,
They weren't
exactly.
bringing money to the table.
So just so I can be clear, if we didn't do the logo, didn't do anything, just shut it off. We're gonna shove everybody down to Garfield during construction.
Or they go the other way, depending on where they're coming
They go
from.
4 mile.
Yeah.
Nobody seems to wanna help us fix it. I'm gonna be blunt. So,
Considering it
including the
impacts,
county.
considering it impacts two townships, East Bay and Garfield. It's a pretty significant road considering what the connector and the traffic it serves from the airport and from other big roads. But I do have a concern about the 1.7. And I guess I go back to my answer. Okay, let's just even say it's going to cost $500,000. Just to be for easy math, for what Alan's proposal is. Will that free up money to go further down on the other maintenance projects or other roads that we get?
You're just pulling ahead next year. You just pull a project ahead from 26.
Okay.
That you've
Okay.
already identified.
That you have already,
Yeah.
okay.
We haven't seen it, but you've got it. You're working on it.
We could find a project to pull ahead.
So now I'm gonna ask our engineer, you heard what Alan's proposal is. Based upon, if we did that work, what do you estimate the life of that work would be?
I'll say 3 to 7, somewhere there, is kind
Okay,
of
so
where
not
he's
that,
at.
not much.
Depends on, what we do with it. We have 5-year life on the permit to change the culvert.
That buys us some time for a couple of years.
Which is it? So like.
How much was the color there for?
Was like 500, 400,000.
Yeah.
So if we did the culvert and did my $300,000 overlay job, that's 800,000. That would still give us 900,000 back to work on some other, I
And
think,
then the color's done.
I don't think you can do the culvert without doing the project, because you have to raise the road, right?
Yeah, the road, we had to change the profile.
That's
for
part of the
that
project, change the profile of the road and build up enough to get over it.
Yeah.
So it'll
I
be
got
longer than, I don't know.
Yeah. I would probably leave the culvert alone and just,
Yeah.
if you want to do a wedge or a small overlay.
I think you have to do both. You have to wedge it and then overlay it somehow. Otherwise, it's not gonna be very helpful. But you could do the math and stuff, but it's not a lot.
Experiment.
I think so.
Well, they did that on,
And that gets us back to that one.
out in my
Lakeshore.
on Silver Pines. About 5 years ago, they wedged that. It was really a bad driving road. There's a bunch of clay and there's a bunch of clay underneath it. It's a terrible road. It's a road that you'd say,
Yeah.
it's nice and drivable. It's already been about 5 years, I think. It fits in our timeline and
So town line.
otherwise I think we have to have a new local road policy. That's what I'm throwing out, and we're hearing it. We don't want to spend, we really want to do the budget. We don't want to do this, but it's only been 15 minutes or so.
So then what would you
Well,
want to do
really-
at Lakeshore?
I want to do our coal. I'm hoping you can, that we can try the cold in place recycling guy. Even if that's a couple miles.
I'd like to know what's underneath of it before we do the.
One of the problems with Lake Shore is all the driveways and issues, and it's not gonna be a pretty project.
They're all tight and everything, and there's a lot of cuts.
Drainage too.
So town line road.
To put a wedge in a cover.
Oh,
Be easier than.
well,
Well, we'd have to see what.
It depends on, we got driveways and things of that nature.
Yeah, if the driveways can, a paver has a wing on it that slides out and you can tilt it down.
Okay.
And that's how you make contact with the driveway as you go by. If they're not too far out of formula, what do we allow, Derek? Like on those, like 8% or
I
something?
think are less than 10, I think, for a driveway.
10% is quite a grade.
That's steep.
Is really steep, so you can make a lot of them pretty good. There could be a few drives that would have to be torn out. But I'd love to see us try the wet, if you wanna get somebody to cold in place, do that. If we need to go. Who do we use? Who do you use for coring? Who do you like?
Osling or SME.
If you wanna core it and see if there's any gravel underneath it. It's a local road that people have been complaining about for a long time. The question is chip and seal on Lakeshore Drive going to address the issues and the complaints?
No.
So then,
So it was on the list,
it's on the list as chip
but
and
we were
seal.
gonna try it, and I appreciate, thank you, honestly, yes. I think that's,
And
why
Dan,
not?
and Dan went out there and had the crew do some wedging. It's really, one of the things I know, like the Leelanau Road Commission guys do, is they go for a tour once in a while. They get in a shuttle bus and go for, we really should go on some of these, and you'd say, I can see why people want what the complaints are. And, you know, I have a few that are, I think, need addressed, and not necessarily even out of our formula, out of our, what list they'll come up with. But there's some you'll say, oh boy, when people talk to me about this, I'll understand why it's so bad. I wish we would do a field trip.
Yeah.
We might not have.
I'm on Google Maps right now looking at Town Line Road. You know, you can see every crack in it, everything on it. So the intersection with Town Line and Hammond, I mean, isn't a light. It's in pretty decent shape. When you talk about widening that, though, it wasn't about putting in a turn lane at that no light intersection, was it?
No, it's for the paved shoulders.
Okay. I mean, people can't really go around if there's a curve there. I don't know. I mean, I always thought we kind of had some prioritized roads, and Town Line was one of them. Frankie, Barney, and we kind of the same ones we talk about over and over again. And so I like the idea that one of them was put on here that we had been talking about with a suggestion. I'm not saying it has to be what it is, but there were some that we had kind of high prioritized were on the radar for a lot of people, not just people that live in one specific area, but these major corridors, and those were them, and Town Line is one of them. And it is a road that's gonna have significant detours on it. I agree that I wish that there could have been airport money. I agree. I mean, you know, I'm in the same boat as everybody, but I don't necessarily hate that it's there. I mean, maybe we could nuance it like Alan's talking about, but the idea of addressing Town Line, I think, is critical with the detours coming up. And
So I'm not in favor of shutting down Town Line. That's not feasible. I think what being discussed so far on Town Line as an alternative, that makes sense to me. Something less than 1.7 million that's here. A wedge and an overlay that could be done for a lot cheaper, which then frees up money to do something, for example, with Lakeshore Drive, and like Dan suggested, could bring in some more other projects from that were originally slated for 2026. So I think that makes sense to me. We don't have this, Dan or Derek, but we talked about later, the extension to Cass. I think you guys told us was in the upcoming something.
For the MPO.
Yeah, Hartman Bridge. It's right there. Yeah. We were gonna take that from Hartman to the bridge. What about this
No,
side?
Hartman to South Airport, right?
Yeah.
No.
Well,
Ross split
that
it
one
2
is-
years.
Oh, okay.
How much is the budget on that one? And with doing it all together, perhaps because of a much bigger project.
The MPO is funding it, you can't group MPO funding more than one project at a time.
Okay.
We tried to pull it ahead, it wouldn't let us.
So that's good money for us right there.
Yeah.
So Phil, the dollar total on page 1 is all millage. And then on page 2, you have 74% of the town line projected cost coming out of millage. So it's that dollar amount plus the dollar amount on the bottom of page 1. That equals your total projected millage funds for next year.
That's not, these aren't my numbers, these were engineering's, but, the first 3 were, MTF and federal and or state aid funded. It was just the town line that.
Right,
would've
I
been
mean,
millage.
so this page is
Primark.
3.355 million.
Yeah,
And it's
so
total
that would be
millage.
all millage.
And the only thing that has the word millage on here is the town line project, and it indicates 74% of the projected cost. So if I took 74% of 1.7 million and I added that to the 3.355, that's our total projected millage revenue.
If we were to select that project, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So there would be, well, we'll get into it later.
Right,
when I
but
do
we've
my budget.
allocated every dollar here,
Not yet.
projected revenue.
Yeah, but I'll get into that.
Okay.
How I did the budget.
Any other questions regarding the project? Planned projects for 2025?
Just real quick on town line too.
Yep.
You know, the road commission's been accused quite often of not planning out ahead and thinking ahead of projects with so many detours. That's why town line looked at.
Mhm.
So I at least want to note that, you know, we looked ahead, we thought about it, we tried to come up with a plan here.
Yep.
So,
And I want to reiterate, we are not saying not to do it.
you know, no, I understand we did a project. If I can totally understand, I'm interested in, you know, alternative methods as well for cost saving
Yeah.
measures, but just to note it, that's, you know, obviously
Sure.
Mr. Gordon mentioned it's been a hot topic for a road, but also we did try to think ahead of what we have coming up.
Yep, absolutely.
I have another question on projects. Do we prioritize, you're gonna laugh at me, our dirt gravel roads? Or we're only gonna worry about paved roads?
So we have started it's kind of a whole new initiative. We went through and we picked the 3 worst gravel roads that we thought were in every township. With those, we're trying to see if townships want to partner up and work on those. If not, we're gonna start to do what we can under general maintenance, but if they really want to bring those roads into good condition, it kind of would go, you know, underneath that local match. Okay, if you want to buy some gravel, we'll supply the equipment, the labor, the fuel, and we'll try and make a project out of this. We're trying to move in that direction, but in the past, no, it's nothing that's ever really
Those are
done.
generally the townships that don't have the money. That's my biggest frustration with town line is the 2 townships that have money. Don't
Spend
want to let
a
go
lot
of
of
it.
money right there.
Don't want to let it go.
Well,
Both of them have money in the bank. I mean, it's. So,
well, and I hate to belabor this point, but in the Lakeshore people, frankly, they were promised something
Yeah.
that we never delivered.
Yeah.
on.
and that's another township, that doesn't have a lot of money.
What kind of money is that project? Just rough numbers. I don't really know.
What, Lakeshore?
Yeah,
If you wedge it,
127.
yeah, if you wedge it and then
Get it over.
lay it over to just under 500,000 roughly.
yeah, because this
Bit
is
more.
the,
It will be more.
What do you think? That's not that's a 2 mile,
Oh, it's 2.18 miles.
Yeah.
And right now it's budgeted, estimated cost is, not budgeted, estimated cost is 127,000.
That's
But chip seal, right, but chip seal.
me quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, whatever we save from, well, not whatever, but most of what we save if we do the town line project separately would then go towards.
Yeah.
Lake Shore, which,
We'd basically be pushing town line out 5 years with a
Mhm.
semi-good fix.
I have a little bit, I mean, I understand that we need to do something with Lake Shore Drive, absolutely. I do have a little bit of a problem spending $500,000 or more dollars on a road that has maybe 400 cars. You know, that's right.
because what's on here is a chip seal.
Right.
And so the thought is perhaps that's not enough based on what maybe they have been promised or thought they were gonna receive. The chip seal isn't.
Well,
enough.
and lipstick on a pig, right?
Right.
Well,
No, that's what I'm saying.
You said they said, I'm not saying they didn't say nice things. If somebody said something to you that, thank you.
They were very happy with the wedge. Again, we're trying to find some roads where we
Yeah.
can do it. In 16 on the millage, it was noted that they were gonna chip seal that
Yeah.
road.
So,
It was never promised. It was just like, hey, these are some projects that we could look at, and that's all it was. It was on the 16 ballot. We, you know, no
We're
longer
doing the chip seal.
do that, obviously. Is that 100% the right road? Is it gonna help with rideability? No. Could it help glue that road back together for 3 years until they can maybe get some money together and then they could do a partnership?
Sure.
I think it could.
Well, I'm down with that.
Yeah.
It's together for 3 years, but you know,
And Dan and I were at a meeting with Lake Township.
Yeah.
And that's basically what we discussed,
okay.
that we would do a little work underneath and then we chip seal.
But you did the wedge, and that was the reason you would want to do the chip seal then, right? That helps glue it.
The wedge helps some. It probably needs a little more wedging.
So a little more wedging and a chip seal then. So we spend a little more than the 127. And get a little better product at the end.
It's Lake Shore's a really, really tricky road and there's not a real great option there. I mean, it's to do a full.
It needs $130,000 for a wedge.
On top of 100 plus, or
Do the
127 for the chip
Just
seal.
wedge it.
I thought we did wedge it.
We did some wedge. You could put some more wedge to it.
Oh, some more
Yeah,
wedge.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, we did it in-house and we tried to spread the love between all the townships and we tried to do a little bit out there.
I guess the question
make a
is,
project
would
out of
the
it.
township prefer a chip seal? Or would they prefer a wedge? I mean, it seems like what was promised to them was a chip seal. That's what they have been advocating for. We are now gonna do it.
They've been advocating to have the road fixed.
Yeah.
But
They don't
but
care
our
what it is.
engineer also said that that probably is not gonna address the problems that they have been complaining about. But on the other hand, we also have to be cost efficient.
Well, if we take that to, this is the only road the rest of it, well, I don't want to interfere, but this is a really bad road. If you go out there, you'd be embarrassed. If we wedge it, we might be able to wedge it for $130,000 and then we $130,000 chip seal it. And they've got their,
Yeah, I know.
For how long? How long?
oh, that could, what's out there has lasted for,
Mhm.
it's gonna be.
Okay.
It's gonna last a while.
So $260,000.
Well, that's my guess.
Well, I mean, okay, but so you said 130,000.
Yeah, and we had 100, how much did we have for it?
Right,
We had 130, we had 160.
27.
we had 127.
Yeah.
So if it's 130 and 130 is 260, so if it's not more than 300,000.
Cal Road.
Anything we do is improve it. That's.
They won't come back and say that you guys didn't make good on your 2016 project.
And it's gonna be nice at least.
Some sections will hold up better than others too, Derek. Would you agree with that? Some of it, you might say, "Hey, this is pretty good." Some of them, where it's the swampiest, might give us a little trouble.
You mean like, I'm like.
Is there a reason why you guys didn't recommend a wedge and a chip seal for Lakeshore?
Typically, the wedge is done, we either do it internally or a separate contract.
Yeah, no, but I mean for this product, on this list, is there a reason why it was only listed as a chip seal and not as a wedge and chip seal?
It's a 400 car day road. And if you had the residents up there, it's probably 300 cars. So it's not, versus the town line, we're sending all the Hammond's traffic down there. I don't, whatever our last numbers.
And
on
I
Hammond,
think it was an opportunity, if I'm not
We're
mistaken,
probably talking 20,000 cars.
I think it was an opportunity to see what we could do by painting the road, chips, basically. See, hey, let's see how this goes.
But the money is, it's Lakeshore is roughly about like a mile
Too much.
longer than town line,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Than town
Yeah.
line.
So if you were to, roughly we looked at doing it, you're to do the whole project, they asked us about it, we did a little surveying out there, you're looking over $2 million on that project.
Which one?
Well, sure, if you were to do a full rebuild.
Yeah, and we are not,
Yeah.
Just for
we are not,
comparison of the two.
right,
So,
I
yeah.
understand.
So basically, we're gonna do on Lake Shore what we did on Zoo Road. Where you guys went out. Now we're gonna chip. Roughly the same.
Zoo Road was actually a project. That strategy. Through there, or they bring their ARPA funds to us
Okay. So it's
for match.
Well, we don't have to make any decisions here, so, I mean,
I think though,
we can
ideally,
give direction.
I think ideally we have, you know, if you could bring us back, a wedge and overlay over town line and then buy us 5 years.
We'd like to see some numbers on that, just for, you know, because right now we're just estimating a lot. And then we have the numbers for just a chip seal for Lakeshore. So let's see if we can get some numbers on a wedge and chip seal for Lakeshore. And then we can make a decision. That's which way to go.
Yeah, other than that, like I said, I'm good with all the preservation projects. This is good stuff. You
We
know?
don't have any counts for town lines since today.
Probably nothing in recent history.
Doesn't matter.
Well, but I mean, no. I mean, this is a better, because we need to use it for a detour.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is so
It's
really
the
the count,
same.
the count is what is 3 Mile doing?
Right.
Yeah,
Hey, what's Hammond doing?
yeah, what's Hammond doing? Great.
That's,
Didn't we have a town, but didn't we
Talking
have a
about
town
thousand
for town
vehicles.
line,
Thousand
when we
vehicles.
were doing Costco or something? I thought, I was told that there was a traffic count done for town line.
We've got, about 1,000, that was back in 16.
Yeah, when I think Costco.
Oh, well, we need a forest to detour around.
what's Hammond at currently? 20,000?
20,000.
So you're looking at 20,000 cars.
Yeah.
Town line, so you're gonna close.
Yeah. That's how we did the last section. We'll probably look at doing that again.
Between,
Which between town line and.
Town line, 3 months ago, yeah,
What are we doing there?
that's a full crush.
Right,
Yeah.
Match it up with the other stuff.
The detour would be Garfield, but since
We're not
town
doing
lines are signalized, we always send all the traffic to an
Oh,
unsignalized
did you ever-
intersection.
I'm sorry, say that again?
The detour, we would use Garfield because town lines are signalized at Hammond.
Yeah.
So I don't want to send all the traffic to an unsignalized intersection.
Yeah, this would be the official detour, but we all know where Fat Willie's resistance, right?
Yeah.
Right, right.
Well, but you'd have to have it barricaded back at, you couldn't just,
We closed it through traffic.
you'd close it through traffic.
Starting at Garfield?
So it would not take the severity of the traffic, like if the barricade was at town line.
Right.
Exactly.
right, exactly.
I see the value of town line. It's just a local road. And it's so far out. So thank you for listening.
No. Any artery's a good artery when you're supposed to have heard it. So-
Any other questions regarding the projects? Any further discussion regarding any of the projects? Okay,
Mr. Chairman, can you just, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a modification of what this looks like.
we'll get some numbers on town line and Lakeshore Drive based upon what we talk about.
Thank you and thank you. I mean, just really, you get to bear with us and all that fun. So.
Okay, items B, budget discussion. That is this handout we have.
All right, so I kind of printed out kind of the high level pages, where we're at on the preliminary budget. The millage did pass, so I went through and updated what I'm expecting our collections to be next year. Dean has the L4029 form going to the county board at their 20th meeting this month for their approval. So I'm expecting a big increase in the millage. The taxable values had jumped over 10% year over year.
Okay.
And we get reset at the 1 mil. We don't have a millage reduction factor. So I looked at kind of that calculated amount versus the collections. We typically collect about 97% of that amount. I'm not sure what the difference is. But and then after that, about 20 to 21% goes to the city and the villages historically. So I just kind of use those rough numbers to get us at $5.8 million.
That's our share.
That would be our
We're not
share.
sharing with the city.
There's a separate. Right.
Thank you.
Um. So when we look at the projects, I just budgeted that. I just threw it in the primary road, understanding that once we do have good numbers on, primary and local, I'm gonna move the revenue to associate with the expenditure. But I just kind of wanted to get it kind of programmed in. Federal sources, we have quite a few federal aid projects scheduled. We have some state category F funds for 3 Mile Road. We have 2 years of STP rural that's going to be on Pipe Lake. We have a signal backplates if we can get that designed. We got an HSIP grant for that. We have MPO funding for Cass Road. We have some high-risk rural roads. Some looks like a vertical curve safety projects that I believe those are competitively bid and approved. And those will be designed, I believe, this year. I don't think they've been designed yet, so I have some money set aside for the design. And those, I believe, are what, 90-10?
Those are 90-10, yep.
Yeah, so we'll be on the hook for 10% of those. Are those capped at all?
Think so, yes.
They are capped, okay. So we'll just have to watch where, the actuals come in, because sometimes costs can come in quite a bit higher than those preliminary estimates. And then we have highway safety improvement for Zimmerman Road. That's a high friction surface treatment.
Yeah, it's just.
No, I was just kind of explaining.
Oh, you're okay.
Like,
All right.
the federal source.
Okay.
And then we also have, but that would be it for the federal source. So about a little over $4 million there. MTF funding, I'm estimating it to be about 2.6% higher than our collections for 2024. I did scale back because of our vehicle registration fees were down quite a bit of money. So in the last budget amendment, I pulled that down. Looks like the state year over year was about 2.5%. So I'm in that ballpark for next year.
So interestingly, the gas prices may or may not come down, which tax wise also then reduces the amount unless we
People buy more gas because it's.
drive more, right? Which means our roads get used more too, so it's. Any thoughts on what might happen there?
I didn't look at like costs of fuel. I mean, I just looked at the pump today and it's back up to 3.20.
Yeah, no,
I mean, it's crazy.
they're asking, they're back to 3.25.
32 cents overnight.
Yeah, they're trying anyway.
I was 297 earlier in the week. Or late last week, so.
On the registrations, did you find out if it was a biennial thing?
I would not have any of that detail. I would,
Joe, do you have that detail?
we only get for you. Yeah, I don't know if the Secretary of State or,
Because if a bunch of people opted for the 2-year.
that's
thing
kind of
and
my
bought it,
assumption, but I don't see that many vehicles moving out. There, if anything, I see people
It
coming
seems
in.
strange that it
That
would
we
have
would have more.
decreased that much, but if everybody that had an opportunity likely bought a 2-year. I know it's not a 2-year type, but you know what I mean. Then we would have that skip until it flushes out through attrition with new purchases of basically then a new standard for annually on revenue dollars. So
The state only keeps a couple years of history on their website. I could probably go back through and, because they specify each month of vehicle registration by county, I could make a list and kind of do a comparison year to year to see if it's trending that way or if it's one particular month. I don't think I have a whole lot of data to really go back on, but I might be able to find something.
It's interesting that in 2024, we actually budgeted MTF funds at 12.8 million. Is that what it's is that, am I reading it correctly?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, this-
I meant to grab 2023. This is our
Okay.
year to date.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
year
year
to
to
date,
date,
okay.
that's what I thought.
Okay, all right, I was
Yeah,
like,
that seems right now.
so we came under the, under budget.
Well,
Obviously.
Well, no, I still
Okay.
have a couple more months
Okay,
to
got
go
it.
in 24.
Are you?
No,
okay.
I meant to hide that column and show.
Okay.
23. Like everything else you'll
All
see
right,
is
got it.
got the
Okay,
full year
That's fine.
close.
Yep.
This was on a different tab.
okay,
So yeah, 2.6 more. State maintenance, that's just a pass through with MDOT. That's right around what their budget is. They start October 1st and go through September 30th.
Maybe more or less depending on what they come up with.
Right. Economic development, funds, that is, I have to look,
Okay, so what's the big jump there? Is it?
need to look at that one quick, Jason.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
I know, it's a.
It's a $500,000 jump.
Yeah, double check my formula, because I was working on this.
Has anything to do with our,
forest money?
So no, there's, 375. So we got 375,000 in a category F for 3 Mile Road.
Ah,
Oh.
I see,
So
okay.
that's the biggest portion. Then we have Fight Lake Road, which is using category D funds for a couple of years.
Okay.
Of 132,000. The primary road formula, I gotta fix that one. That should flip back to the 557, but I just got one little tweak to go on that, but that doesn't affect the overall budget.
Why is the contribution from local units so much lower?
So all I did here, we don't have any township partnership agreements. The only thing I can estimate is we're gonna do Brine.
Yep.
With the township, which is about 225,000, and then Acme Township actually is paying us for a couple of bonds for some SADs that they did. So I report their annual bond payment as a local contribution.
and we had some bigger projects.
So this could obviously get amended if something changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like kind of the way our policy is, like we're gonna cover. Like with MTF, our internal and overhead and that type of stuff, and then if they wanna bring in a contractor, 100% of that cost,
Mhm.
the revenue and expense would be on the residents. So it really wouldn't affect our fund balance at all.
Okay.
It's just some of our internal time. We spend our time. For the construction projects, I got just a high level page that we can kind of go through quick. The other items I kind of kept from where we were in fiscal year 24, the amended budget. I still need to do a little deeper dive on some things. I know with the new facility, there's probably going to be increased maintenance costs and utilities and things like that. So I probably want to bump up some of our kind of overhead and indirect equipment activities to account for some of that stuff. But overall, I don't think it's gonna change our bottom line of, materially.
The number of construction projects, that's just not, it's not limited to just roads. Does that include the Kingsley facility too?
No.
So how, I guess. Is this like, is this contemplating projects that were in previous years that will get completed in?
No.
So based upon this
So,
thing, I'm not even seeing, I
so
mean,
you want to go to this sheet then?
okay, sure,
If you're ready to go there.
yep.
Which,
It's probably one of the
The last
last
one.
ones.
It's the last one.
Maybe. It's just a real high level
Well, clearly,
instruction.
Yep.
There you go.
I sanded my thumb off, so I'm just kind of trying to go through all this.
So what I did on this is, our engineering department pretty much handles all of our construction projects. So I just estimate like how much time they're gonna charge direct to projects and throw it under this top line called labor and equipment. Whatever they're not charging to directly to a project, they're putting into an activity that's 516. And that gets pushed back as an indirect overhead expense to the projects. So essentially all the engineering costs will end up getting charged to the projects as construction takes place. The millage, I put in 5,875,000 just as if we were to identify them, have them, bid out and paid. The difference is the overhead on the projects that's getting allocated. That's why you see it at $6.1 million. So there's a couple $100,000 of overhead that'll get charged to those individual projects, and I'm budgeting that portion with MTF. Funding, not millage funding. And then I list.
Just touch on that. Is there a way you can bill it to the millage and then freeze up?
can.
And then freeze up again, the fungibility of what we have to work with and where we put it. If we're, we don't want to use millage money in the local roads, for example, primaries, right?
I mean, we would use, if I didn't budget it this way, we would be doing fewer projects with millage funds because it would free up MTF for other projects. I mean, it's how you shift it. For me, budgeting, it's easier just saying, hey.
But I mean, if we have to, we can
collecting-
adjust it to kind of justify or to at least.
We could. In
okay.
fact, years ago, they used to just do the whole project costs, that 51 costs, and say that was millage. I think it's, for me, it's easier budgeting if I see the receipts coming in, I know what we're paying to the contractors, and I'm using that to.
So I guess what I'm getting to is, so we have a little flexibility if we need it, right?
We can, yeah,
Okay, all
absolutely.
right, that's all I needed to hear.
Yeah, I want to try to stretch that dollar
Sure,
as much as possible.
As far as I'm concerned, when you're crunching the numbers, you do it.
It all works out in
Best
the
for
end.
you.
We are we using millage funds for the Cass Hartman to Miller Creek project?
No, so that section is federal aid projects.
Right.
So under the GTCRC/millage,
Uh-huh.
that would be all MTF funds.
Okay, so that 403,
Yeah.
318, that's not millage.
GTCRC
Correct.
for the.
Okay, I see, got it.
First, to reduce the columns and simplify it.
Sure, no, I
High
understand, yeah,
level,
yeah.
it's
No, I
federal
just wanted to
state or-
clarify that. Okay, so that's MTF funds.
So as I kind of discussed when I kind of went off on a tangent there on the federal revenue,
Yeah.
this is kind of the funding sources.
Okay.
For each of those projects. And the Lightner Road Bridge, we just have that OHM contract for $366,000 budgeted in there. Because that's, for right now, that's the only stage that we're at. On that,
That's design, right?
just for the design work.
That's the one that you already have the OHM.
It was approved.
Approval for, right?
Yeah. And I forgot to get it in that last budget amendment. So we didn't have any expenses come through, so it didn't hit my radar. So I can either do a budget amendment for 24 and pick it up, or we should be fine with fund balance to just absorb that little bit of expense we're gonna have in 24, and I'll just do an amendment in 25 for the balance.
Do we have no Fed? We've used all Fed, right? We don't have any Fed left on the table.
This is all of our federal aid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some kinds like to sell it
Yeah.
back to this state.
I don't think the state's buying it.
Not gonna buy it.
No.
They're gonna go for 99%.
They're not buying that. It's just between local agencies.
Yeah.
Okay. At this point.
The North Long Lake
That's
and
nice.
Perkner, what
Make it with that.
federal project is
No,
that?
no, it's not.
HSIP?
So that is that high friction surface treatment.
That
Oh, wait,
would-
no, I'm sorry.
That's the
No,
light,
that's-
there's a
that's-
light
That's a
there.
signal. That's a
Yeah.
signal at the school.
That was that safety thingy.
Yeah, but this is listed as a federal project. I thought that was a state
That's a
safety.
federal safety grant. Comes from the feds through and up.
Okay, so the 242, 192, is that our match?
That would be our 20% plus the overhead plus engineering costs.
Okay.
Got it. Okay, that's all good.
Yeah, yeah,
It's all good.
yeah.
So the 360 is kind of more of a, and that was based off of what, a $500,000 estimate, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I remember we submitted
Yeah.
that request, but okay.
When I say federal aid, it could be 100% state funded. When I use that term, it's like running through on that, like it's, kind of their project, they're bidding it out.
Okay,
But I probably could retie up federal and state aid.
Yeah, maybe.
A little bit.
Yeah, because I was kind of not
And
clear as to how.
We're also thinking of prevailing wage rules and
Well,
what have you.
that would all, these all run through the MDOT rules.
Yeah, okay.
This wasn't the project that required, bringing the driveways down to one.
It is,
So did TCAPS,
they're starting it.
they committed?
Yeah,
Okay,
because
I figured with the new STEM
So
building,
we pushed it ahead a year to try to get in line with.
that's what I was wondering with the new STEM building. Okay.
I think that was when they said that if they got that bond proposal passed.
Yes,
that-
and it
that-
did,
And it did,
so,
so.
okay.
It makes sense.
It just is moving quicker. than
That's an
I
interesting
expected
wreck in the morning. I
TCAPS.
actually took the grandkids out there a couple of times and it's like,
Yeah, so
it's
we're.
maddening.
Yeah.
How did that ever get built?
I know.
No, but
Yeah.
living a quarter of a mile
even
from it and
going in
hearing
and
the
you come
accidents
out, it's
there all the
I think
time.
it wasn't as built up back then. In
Yeah.
that area was just not, there were no
No, it wasn't built
subdivisions,
up.
right?
Yeah.
That's why they put that- Yeah.
And a
No,
million
all the
other
years
houses.
of driving traffic circle, like picking up kids and everything, I wish I had $1 for every car that ran a red or turned wrong, turned a left on a red or whatever. And then we throw in all the 16-year-old drivers on
Right.
top of it.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's maddening.
No, I'm really glad to hear that. So, because the bond did pass and I just
Okay.
kind of didn't expect to see it move so quick with them.
No,
The bond just passed.
Yeah.
And then the sticky stuff that's going on the road on Zimmerman. Had we thought about maybe, I know this is way ahead, but talking about something like that for the new double turn lane at Stone Ridge? What is the name of the road? Silver Lake and South Airport. You know, the new double turn lane that goes up the hill? I love it. Love that we have a double turn lane, but when you're going up the hill to my house and you turn left at Stone Ridge,
South Airport. and-
I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's South Airport. and-
Or Horizons West too.
Okay,
Okay,
Yeah,
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 he
I
knows,
know.
right? Just past the monastery.
Yeah.
So you turn the double left and the outer one, it's called Brunson Place there. It's a really tight turn
And
and
there's a
which I
curve.
love, but and it's curved.
That's right.
And in the winter, it's a little, people tend to kind of push them into it. And I just wondered, I'm not an engineer, but is that the kind of location where the sticky stuff would be helpful, or is that not really a good
this
thing?
is more for like run off the road style.
Okay,
Like
not the-
curves where that really curvy areas on Zimmerman.
So the curb is really just to keep us from running, okay.
Plus, and we were kind of limits our right of way too.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
that's why-
they did a great job with what they had. It was a very awkward and surrounded by swamp and everything, so.
What does HRRR stand for?
High risk
Risk
road.
roads.
Secor and East Long Lake, is that the audit? We were
No, that was on Cedar Run,
what's Secor and East Long Lake?
vertical curve modification,
I'm sorry,
a vertical curve modification.
what are we doing? What kind of?
Transverse area, cutting the hill down and trying to raise the intersection up a little bit so the cutter sets.
Oh, really? That would be very helpful.
So dangerous.
Yeah, that is. Okay. Huh. And that's a federal aid project or state?
That's federal.
Federal.
Federally just, or HRRR.
The federal funds for these come through the state. It's an
Okay.
MDOT, LAT project, you have all their rules, but it's federal fund.
Yes.
If we had unlimited dollars, what's the real fix at that intersection ultimately? So that we don't make a decision to spend money on projects that might hinder what's best for it eventually if we had MPO funds or something.
Out there, I mean,
Cutting down the trees.
that could be an option, but on your footprint there. As far
I
as
mean, it's
right-
never gonna be a roundabout, right?
Probably not gonna be around about it. I don't think.
Can they come in with a study at that and look at it? And they said that.
They did not. I don't think the volumes warrant a signal there.
They don't,
I
okay.
wouldn't think so.
And it's got a sharp turn coming into it. Does that matter with signals or does that not matter?
Oh, you're talking about Secor.
I
Yeah.
think you're
And Silver Lake.
Yeah.
talking about,
Oh,
this is
okay.
Secor and East Long Lake.
Tell me,
Yeah,
is that
that's
where the
that's-
church is?
Yeah,
I'm like-
that's
like
where
trees.
the stop sign
That's
is.
what I was like,
Four-way,
way back
where you go straight to Bass Lake.
Different story.
But the Secor is so.
Where the churches, you're right.
Is that
where
where
the
the
churches,
church is?
yes,
If you
where the
could just give me
churches.
the names of the businesses.
No, you're thinking about Silver Lake.
So we're
and
talking about the
Silicon.
church,
Yeah,
not where the
yeah,
barn is.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, because that one is frequently.
That is
asked
the
about.
road secret. So like in secret,
Yeah, what,
Right?
they came back, they didn't recommend a roundabout just because you can't fit it in there. There's not. a-
Right, exactly. There's
Okay.
not
They
enough.
recommended possibly looking at signal and looking to see if it meets.
okay, I was confusing it and thinking, well, if we're
Yeah.
spending money, you don't wanna, you
No,
know,
no.
but I still think cutting down trees is really helpful. That one is one that's frequently asked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The Seacrest overlay.
No, yeah, Sequoia Silver Lake, right.
It's by the Crown Golf Course and there's a
Oh,
big
yeah.
barn.
And we had a road safety audit done,
Okay.
and what did they recommend?
They recommend, they didn't rec, as I said, they didn't recommend a roundabout.
They did.
They recommended possibly signal if it meets warrants. But that's really your only intersection control options for that. Cause you have that curve there. You have queued up traffic for signal two, and that's gonna possibly introduce some high speed running crashes.
I was gonna say a signal people around that curve.
But they're probably gonna involve a turn lane as well. If you're gonna do it.
All right,
Partnership projects, that's again, put 500,000 in. As a MPF match towards local roads that townships wanna come in. Had some success with some townships, not so much with others, so hopefully, you know, communicating with them and. And explaining the funding needs on the local road system and what we're kind of, what we receive and how we're utilizing it.
Other than Mayfield Township, we're proactively, I understand, it's gonna come in and try to do a plan for Mayfield. Is there any other township that's
They're in
going to
here.
say let's do a plan?
They're in here, what, 2 weeks ago, Dan?
But is there any other township that's actually taken us up on the offer to help them plan out what they need to do?
At this time.
Eric, I think that's just because they have a really active road commission, ex-road commission manager on their, engineer on their.
He was from the city, but yeah, I think that's probably part of the.
Was it Midland?
Yep.
cool, Brian.
Yes, he's really,
Isn't he on the PC? I don't know if he's on the board or is he on?
He's on the planning commission.
That's what I thought, yeah.
You got elected.
You gotta like,
Oh,
He did get elected,
yeah.
okay.
Ah, cause I was thinking he was just PC.
Was your question in regard to the partnership project?
Yeah, I was just wondering, other than Mayfield, has anybody come in to say, hey, let's take a look at the road infrastructure in our township and try to begin to prioritize? Does it sound like?
Pike Lake, when we were out there, kind of sounded like they might be interested in this project.
So the rural townships probably are,
Get to this next.
They would be the most.
more proactive.
Intersection?
Because the other ones, you know, planning departments and things like that, right?
Yeah. All right, intersection improvement project.
So I put in, I think the last time, I think it was HRC did the design work here, about 43,000 in intersections, so. I put 2 locations in, for like designing them in 25 for it, and that's.
Any two
About
locations?
26.
No,
I don't know if we have the exact locations or not.
Oh, yeah, I know that Haley was talking basically 2 per. You're trying to get through the rotation.
Yeah, right.
The question I have about this is that, so we have on South Airport, we have the arms that come out and hold the lights, right? South Airport cast.
Yes, no.
Okay, and then we're putting up these lights that we're stringing them across again, in all 4 directions. I seem to recall her talking about the wires essentially age and everything. Well, clearly if they're exposed, they're going to age more. I mean, we have wiring in our house that's 70, 80 years old, right? I mean, so would it be practical to maybe spend a little more and get the nice posts and put it up and then never have to worry about them in our lifetimes again? You know,
I'm not sure what the cost difference is, because when you're talking a bigger foundation, since you got that arm.
I understand.
You're talking about the arm itself and the pole, and they're gonna get the same lifespan as a string pole roughly. But then rewiring the heads and putting out these span wires, is pretty cheap compared to new poles.
Don't you have to hire somebody to be there and inspect?
And you have to,
Made?
you have to have the fabrication inspection.
yeah, I remember we paid like 50,000 to inspect a pole. It's like, what? Yeah, no, okay. So I'm just kind of throwing that out there. I'm
There's
just,
the mass arms at Cass and South Airport are nearing the end of their.
And they're nearing the end of their lifespan.
So.
I feel like they just got put there. How old am I? I just,
You talked about taking your grandchildren.
Oh, my gosh. The
Not fair.
Keystone Room in
I'm just starting to have
Berkeley, you don't
fun.
have a
It's all
light there.
over.
Do you have a light at
Yeah.
Keystone in Berkeley right now?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to fill me in on it.
Yeah, with the first light when you turn. When you turn from,
By the soccer field.
Hammond.
I'm
by the
thinking of
soccer.
Hoke. Hoke is the one
Yeah,
without the
no,
light.
right. This is-
Okay.
this is
I-
more-
That one, I think lane modification there could be done and it would make it better. And it could be done a lot cheaper than putting a lighter in or anything, any signal.
I don't think it should have a light. Yeah, there's a roundabout right there and then.
No,
And then
but I think an extra, a lane to the right out and a turn lane that runs a little further down would be nice so that people, they could kind of get in and do a
You're
commercial.
talking instead of the bypass lanes there right now.
Yeah, a lot, right, using the bypass lane, maybe extending that out if that was at all possible, and then allowing it to actually move over.
End of the road.
And then have a merge lane there for people who are turning left.
Up a Oak.
Yeah, up Oak.
I try to avoid that after.
Oh, generally, it's a good idea,
Because it's,
Do you have kids at the soccer field?
in
Because
the
that's,
springtime.
yeah, that's one of the things I worry about the most is those, of course, the tournaments, the lacrosse tournaments and stuff too that are there, but the picking up the kids I did a little thing on the radio, like, I don't know, maybe beginning of the year last year, where I went in and I demonstrated to everybody how to turn left and use the roundabout to turn left. So you actually turn right and use the roundabout and go. We got more calls on that. It's like people are like, I never thought about that. I'm like, that's why you use a roundabout. It's called the slingshot. And if you're sitting at Hoke and you want to turn left, well, that's just not going to work for you because of traffic. You turn right and you just have.
you're not that far away from the roundabout, use it.
So I've been really pushing people using the roundabout as a slingshot. I don't think people are super comfortable with that or don't think about it. So the idea of some kind of turn lane or, extension. But roundabouts are really useful tools for going left or right. I don't know. I also don't like turning left, so I try to find ways to turn right all the time and
I watched a camper try
Very
to
well.
pull out on the whole
Yeah.
road.
Don't go left.
And while that
Don't-
camper sat there,
Don't go left.
8 cars came around him on the right and turned left in front of him because he was just so nervous.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's
No,
crazy.
I mean,
crazy
that would
town.
be a consideration for a safety. I don't know.
It could be, I mean, coming up here in a few months will be, reapply for them.
And
All right.
have you split the roundabout?
I like the new roundabout.
I-
I'll cut across it. If it's not rush hour, I'm going that way.
Yeah.
If it's rush hour, I'm going Hammond.
Interesting.
Coming around that way.
All right, let's continue with our budget discussion.
And then, I believe, Hubble Rock and Clark are still in the design phases of the 3 Mile at Parsons, Keystone at Berkeley. So we just had 500,000 in there as a placeholder.
Yeah.
We don't have an engineer estimate yet.
But that's kind of what it's been.
We'll deal with that as we get better information on.
So that's what gets us to 17 million. All right.
Correct.
Okay.
Like I said, routine winter maintenance traffic services, I didn't do a big deep dive into those. I kind of kept, those typically run similar from year to year. Same with the benefits and equipment. And, maybe before the public hearing, we'll put a little more eyes on maybe some things that might be, bigger changes. But it won't change the whole bottom line a whole lot. Right now, I try to get us down to about a $4 million ending fund balance. With the last budget amendment, we had about 6.6 million. So it allowed us to do a little more projects. Than we, our normal annual MTF would allow us to do. I guess I skipped over capital outlay. I did have another schedule of capital outlay. This is gonna be a big year because back in 23, the board authorized 9 trucks, kind of get ahead of the emissions. So those will all get delivered in 25.
Yeah, I still think it's a good idea.
So that's 1.4 million. And we plan to upfit 3 of those over the, 3 year. So I had budgeted 3 upfittings on those. And then we didn't do any pickups this year, so we are budgeting, I think it's 3 pickups and then 2 dump trucks. That we use for pothole patching, kind of the bigger dump trucks.
One time to put the dump on.
Okay.
And then we're also in the rotation for a mower tractor. I think that one replaces one that was involved in an accident.
We haven't replaced that already.
No, the way it worked out for the year and what we saw for pricing, we rented last year.
Okay.
And, you know, if we have to rent again this year, we could, but we saw a greater need for longer than what we were.
What's the rent, in comparison? I mean, was it?
It was up to his lower 5,000.
Yeah, it's about $6,000 a month. We did it just for 1 month.
Okay, that's the
But we
intense
probably
mowing
needed
that
a
we
little
do,
more.
and then we're done with it. What does the mower cost?
120
We looked at roughly 120,000.
For a mower?
with the equipment.
This is,
Okay.
this is a tractor.
Oh, I see.
But
We usually do about 120, 100 horse
So-
tractor.
so-
Figure
so
1,000.
if we can concentrate our mowing efforts into a month, for example. Or even a couple of months, it'd be 10,000. If we're paying 120,000 for to purchase it, that's a 10-year. I mean, why wouldn't we rent it? I mean, I'm just thinking.
It's definitely something to look at.
I don't think we would want to rent everything, or we'd want.
Well, no, but
But yeah,
certain things like that.
We put that as a placeholder when we were talking to them. I need to get some more information, but they're saying like they had the tractor we rented last year. They're like, now we're gonna sell the rental fleet from last year, that they could do something good on the price, so.
We only have one other mower besides the one we rent.
We have three tractors, in total, what we usually run, we're down to 2 tractors.
Thank you.
So.
Mowing.
So this
A
came out.
lot of shoulder miles, aren't there?
Yeah, we also use the tractors, for like the high ridge removal.
High ridge removal,
We put
right.
those out there in front of them.
And you did a
The re-
ton of high rate.
With the reclaimers. And then we also have the tractors go out and do a lot of brush hog, or like we got a boom on them, an arm. Feel those tractors.
The stiffer sticks. Yeah.
What, 2 brooms, I believe.
2 brooms, yeah.
You had a question?
Well, I was just gonna say, it came up last night and it had to do with the trucks. And I said, we kind of have a bulge here, but over a 3-year period, it's actually gonna be a better capital outlay. Plus, it looks a little higher than you would
We're a
normally
little higher
pay.
than I'd probably like to be.
Yeah.
And I'd like to try to get us down to where we're budgeting off MTF and.
Right.
MTF goes up.
And a lot of it,
A little bit.
trucks.
But we're gonna come back to that.
After this year.
Yeah.
See it over back down.
Like when I was in, I
Yeah, I wanna
said,
clarify.
10%, and then that's what they used, and they had a plan to replace everything, and that's.
Extenuating circumstances, though, the emission standards, and maybe we'll see a change in that.
I hope.
That would be
Yeah, the
nice.
price is still gonna go up though.
Yeah,
Stock will
that's-
be.
I mean,
Changes, it changes, we'll still be stocked.
yeah.
You're happy with what we have had for this. We've got trucks coming in.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be in good shape for a lot of years to come.
Yeah.
All right.
So the next page, this was basically just our, broken out. Without like fringe, overhead, equipment allocations, depreciation, that type of stuff, that, like labor, I brought that down a little bit. We had 59 positions budgeted last year. I think we're down to about 56. There's a couple in the admin that we weren't filling, and then I think there was maybe 1 in the shop. We've got 4 technicians currently. And then I did put in the union pay increases. I think we're gonna maybe look at a wage study. I don't know if we'll get those numbers back in time before the public hearing, but definitely before, if we do a budget adoption in December, we could have a little more updated. I don't think it'll change, a whole lot. But I like to try to get things as dialed in as much as accurate as possible. So across the top, you can see the MTF, the state maintenance, and if you go through the rows, you can kind of see, how we're spending all those different funding sources. Most of them are being spent on construction projects. With the exception under state, we get $50,000 a year in category E funds for forest roads. That's all routine maintenance type of, work that we do. The 225 is the brine from the townships that gets run through routine maintenance. Out of the MTF, out of the $16 million, $10 million is basically all of our routine maintenance, administration, fringes, overheads. And that leaves us about $5.9 million to put towards any kind of capital outlay in construction projects. Which those can kind of vary from year to year.
Which line are you on?
So I was looking at the MTF column. You see how I have the
Yeah,
MTF broken between all the different types of activities we do? And I put the percentages of the total expense, so we can kind of see roughly, you know, that total expense, how much is in projects. So look, it's not percentage of MTF because you can see we're in a deficit, but part of that's because we had carryover from fiscal year 24, a little over $2 million of budgeted fund balance that we're kind of using. So 5.9 isn't a whole lot for when you start, you have to take out a couple million for equipment and then, you know, our contribution towards projects outside of the millage. 100% of the millage is going towards projects. This makes up part of that $17 million figure. The difference that you see on the construction projects in the 16.22 is the overhead allocation.
Okay.
Because I have the overhead down in, you know, a few rows down.
Right.
So
Yep.
it's just a little different way of looking at things. Of course, we have the bond notes. We have 923,000 for Kingsley, and then 115,000 is our Acme Township contributions for a couple of their SADs.
There was a 20-year bond
Yeah.
for Kingsley. Want to make sure I'm right. What I said last night, I want to check, make sure I was right.
And that next pages are just what you see on a monthly basis, same report, just a little more detail. And if I have to dive into any of that,
Yeah, it's the same information.
we can kind of see from, you know, from 23 to 24 to 25, what things are trending or how close they are. Or anything else you guys would like to see for, you know, the next regular meeting and with the public hearing, I'd be more than happy to present it. Or if you like the way I had a little higher level, and then as we get better costs for projects, we can always do budget amendment and shift things up, but I at least wanted to get them.
Like I said, I was able to follow this a little better today than I do sometimes.
I can get off. Sorry.
But sometimes it's like you're talking about, I'm trying to find that column.
Yeah, I bounce around.
So, I guess I would just address this to Dan. So based on this budget, is there anything that we as commissioners, your our manager appointment, is there anything at commissioners that you're not happy with that you say, you five really need to think about here that it's going to make running the road commission difficult? Is there something that we need to make a choice on? We're sort of accepting this. We think this is good work. Is there?
One thing I want to look into a little bit more, and we're trying to work on this a little bit. For 25, we've set up 2 signals a year, or since we're getting that federal funding. On that, it's looking at 3 signals for 25. So, but we still have to bring in some funding to that. So it's a little out of normal we talked about. But,
Well, I think going back to, taking a little off the top of we're at Town Line Road.
You want to do 3 signals, so that's our share of 500.
Well,
Again,
That's what kind of was being recommended, but I wanted to have a conversation and talk about that a little bit, with some direction if we wanted to do that or not, or do we just want to fix the 2 and then we can, that the funding can go towards road?
I thought our 2 was, of course, I complained about that, but I thought our 2 was, we're fixing our signals faster than we were fixing our roads. It's as a part of the overall thing, but as far as the drivability of our roads, we're planning on through 10 years, we're going to get through our signals. We're not going to get through our roads in 10 years. So. But if it saves money and if we really have problems, we don't want somebody out there all weekend, all the time, doing Band-Aid jobs that are a waste of money.
Is that like what Haley is recommending, or is that?
Yeah, we're getting money, safety that's covering, I can't remember the exact numbers. So do you have it? But yeah, it pretty much,
It's pretty talking North Long Lake at Hertner.
yeah, how much they were getting.
That one, we're getting about 360,000.
Yeah.
On a $500,000 project.
Yeah.
So
Um,
I just want to make everybody aware that it didn't come later.
No, so what you're gonna say is, that's another $1.50 we need to cover our share. If you do a third one, probably.
Well, it's already in this budget, but I just want to make everybody aware of it and talk about it. Myself kind of struggle with it because we said 2. And then
what's
I wanted
the,
to be very transparent on that.
what's the rationale for going from 2 to 3? Why do you want to do?
Just because I got the federal grant.
The federal money is covering.
Just
Smarter money because
So we have the money, so you'd rather just do 3 and use that federal funds before they go away?
Well, definitely do the Fed project, but you could do the Fed project and then not do another one. Then you'd have that money put towards the road.
They're saying take the money we budgeted already. Is that what it is?
Well, that's what I'm trying to understand.
Replace that with the federal, so then we have money left over that we could use for a
You
term.
could use other places. I'm not saying.
Okay,
It's a 3
I
is
see what,
wrong to do.
Right.
I want to be very transparent. So we talked about 2 and the next
Well,
year I want, hey, how?
If we're leveraging the federal money and it gets us down the road further, again, always.
that makes sense.
That's, it's not, for me, politically, it's not the ideal situation I want to be in. I'm not a big fan of having to rely on, the federal trough.
We had never heard that about you, Jason.
Yeah, but at the same time, the reality we live in, this is what we have to do. And it's just like the money spent on Castro for the MPO project between Hartman and Whitener. It's money well spent, given,
but is it an either or proposition? Why can we use that federal funds also on roads? Or do we have to use it on a third
That
signal?
was a safety one for a signal.
Oh, so it is specific to us.
Yeah, and so if you use that to spend the money on your second signal.
I'm down with that while we have it.
Well, it makes sense to me. If that's the rationale, then it makes sense to me. Use the money. It's federal funds.
Money.
We don't want to leave it on the table.
And we can't use it for roads, so we can use it, we can get our signal worked on ahead a little bit.
But with the
And then I'll get down the road that buys us. some more
Project
roads.
specific.
project
We
specific.
just have to have the match for it.
It's
Yeah, advanced signals or the roads,
The match.
Just want to get- spend
How much is the
100,
match? Yeah, I didn't know.
160,000 at roughly, or 100 and.
Probably 140.
Okay.
That's my
Not gonna have
guess.
two-
Yeah, 149
That's
years
why I
for
said
a
we're
road.
good.
but-
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And I gotta have 50,000 for inspection and then 23,000 for design.
On top of the 140, or does that?
Yeah, we got it.
We pay for that.
But instead of having 600,000 into the project, we'll have 200,000 into the project.
theoretical savings.
In the end, if we have to replace that signal, yes, it makes sense to do it for $200,000 than for, like Jason's example, $600,000. So yes, it makes financial sense in that respect. Yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing. I just wanted to be.
That's the only thing in here that you're not saying, well, this is gonna leave us short somewhere else. You're not coming out saying that.
No, I think we're still gonna have a little over our $4 million target fund balance.
Yeah.
I think we're getting, we're able to carry from this year, so we're getting a little further ahead on some projects. So overall, I think it's gonna be a good year. I can honestly say it's very nerve wracking when you're looking at the entire county and the entire road system, trying to pick out what you're gonna do and what's the best and that it's.
That's why you're getting paid to take
It is, you're trying to do the best you can with funding that you have for the community and it's,
Any other questions regarding the budget from any other commissioners? Any questions, any comments?
Thank you. Thank you for doing it.
Thanks.
I enjoy it.
Oh, well, clearly.
No, I think we understand. How well do we have a year in there where we didn't get much help?
Right.
Yeah.
Year and a half. There was a time where a little over a year where we didn't. It's much easier knowing where we're going. This is and a good meeting to.
Sure.
I like doing this not for a regular meeting.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Okay, so if there are no other, you're good? There are no other comments or questions, we will move on. No public comment.
I believe nobody wanted to come.
Number 8, commissioners' comments, questions, and future agenda items. Commissioner Ford.
A couple of things. I was here on Monday and I was surprised the road commission worked on Veterans Day. I don't know if that's a board action or not, but all of the other municipalities, village, city, townships, state, federal, and I'm sure we have veterans employed here and spouses and kids and parents of veterans. And I thought it was kind of strange.
We could talk about that, scheduling.
Yeah, I don't know what that has a budget impact, how we look at that or what the procedure is, but it seems odd to me that we don't have Veterans Day off here. So
I'm almost because we're kind of in winter maintenance season. If they try. to
Does the
schedule
county
that
have
time
Veterans
off-
Day off?
yes.
Yeah.
Everybody, even Garfield Township, who doesn't take like any federal holidays off, is off. My property management companies were all off at our different buildings. Like it was kind of strange that I wanted to have an insurance meeting here and I knew I wasn't working on Monday. So it was like, oh, and then it occurred to me, I thought maybe they were planning it on a day off, but they weren't. Everybody was working. So.
All right.
So that was one. The other one is, I will not be here for a regular meeting this month, so I just wanted to let you know. And I was wondering if we could potentially talk right now about a second meeting in December. I understand that we normally do an extra meeting every other month, but I think due to some circumstances coming up, it might be good if this current board meets twice in December if possible to take care of some business.
Well, our December meeting is,
I believe the 12th.
it is the 12th. I can tell you right now, before the 12th, it's gonna be pretty hard to get in because we have our agenda
Okay.
review meeting on the 6th.
So we meet the 12th and that's it.
We can do it after the 12th. We can do it on, we can do, we can do like another one on the 19th.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not an additional one, at least something to buy us a little time. to
Well, it
look
will
at where
be an
appointments
additional
settle
one
and
because
stuff.
we don't have a special one.
We don't have a special one, okay.
So
So
it will be a special meeting.
the
We don't have
12th is a regular meeting
Yeah.
on the second.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe at that time, we can kind of figure out if we need another one.
We probably will.
Yeah, I think
We probably, we most likely will.
So the 19th would ideally then.
Yeah, 19th would be the last one.
so
because
just
after
throwing it
that's
out
true.
there, is that possible for our board or our staff, or is that just something we know ahead of time?
I serve at the leisure of whoever, it's whatever.
Well, how about we add Kylie, if you can send out an email and add to all the commissioners and find out their availability for December 19th.
December 19th, absolutely.
I think it's actually really important.
Anything else?
That was it.
Okay, Commissioner Underwood.
I'm gonna pass on, I think it's a compliment, in one of my meetings, some of the emergency response people in the southern part of the county were made a comment about how impressed they are, how fast the road commission responds when there is an emergency that needs the road commission to respond. So, want to pass that along.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Gilman.
Well, just an update. if we are anywhere further down the line with the disposition of the old facility? And when are we going to be moved out of it?
So we did, got someone come out and take a look at it and we're doing an appraisal on it. Have not seen that appraisal back yet. Still waiting on that to come through, but they did actually do the physical appraisal. So once that number comes in, I'll something come back to the board. We'll have a number, and then we have 2 people in the community that are interested in purchasing it. They've reached out to me. And also we still have the Brown Field and the land bank to consider. Both of the ones that are interested in it, they're aware of it, the Brownsfield. That maybe the county would still be interested in kind of doing the pass route. So a lot to discuss once we have a number. I have talked to legal. Once we have an appraisal, if we want to just sell it out directly, we can sell it out directly off of an appraisal.
The other part, how soon are we moving into the new facility?
We're looking, that will be moved in December. I can't say when in December, but we'll be moving in December. Well, things are going really good down there.
Are things okay?
There's we're a little bit of slowdown right now with some plumbing, stuff like that. We were hoping to get a little further ahead on that. That's probably the only thing really. We've got paint, lights, everything's pretty much in place. So just finishing up final there. Should have heat next Wednesday. They're firing up the boilers.
All right.
So
Maybe we do the 19th stuff.
You know what? That'd be cool.
I know, it'd be kind of fun.
we it won't keep us from moving in, but we have a couple of asphalt issues down there that I'm currently dealing with.
That's it. Thank you.
Do you want to speak to your visit with Elmer's on the South Long Lake resolution? Is that in the end? I mean, you talked to Jason and I about it. Do you want to just?
Yeah, sure, we can talk about that. So we did bring them in and had a pretty good conversation with them. That project was bad all around for everybody. They had an additional $30,000 that they've already eaten on that project that they had in overages. They had a few different things. There was a lot more flagging involved. They had a lot of times they had to shut down because there was a lot of utility issues. They're getting gas lines, power lines, cable, you name it. So, they didn't even come to us. They just ate that 30. They were able to show us that 30,000. I know we talked a little bit about, if we can negotiate anything. They didn't have really anything in there. And their biggest thing was we had somebody on site at all times. If there was an issue that,
We're paying the bill.
Who was that person?
one of our technicians, engineering. So,
It was a thought.
it was worth the conversation.
We're gonna be paying a little more attention to those potential things.
We have started working on a policy to hopefully, have this not happen again. So,
Anything else?
I did forget one thing. The MPO met today, or TTCI. I don't know if any of you guys had it.
I was supposed to be
On the
there.
Policy board.
Okay, there was a vote that was approved today after a little bit of a discussion, which is how I heard about it, to move forward with having Frankie Road be the MPO project.
Great.
Okay.
So-
That was for reclassification.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
reclassification.
right, for reclassification, which could be huge for us in a lot of ways. So I just thought, as long as you guys know what they're talking about, I just want to make sure you knew, because there was some scuffle. But that could really factor into how we're looking at these 3 years out of projects, because Frankie Road is obviously one of the ones that I listed earlier as we had targeted. So if they reclassify that, that could open up a lot of potential assistance.
The other option, of course, is the
Turn into dirt.
Yeah. Are we still having an annual safety meeting on December 6th at the Kingsley facility?
Yep.
Okay, what time is that?
Starts at 11, maybe 11:30.
Because we have typically our agenda review meeting that day, so do we have to make any changes to that? And
Probably.
are the commissioners able to attend?
You are invited, yeah.
Yep.
what day is it?
December 6th, Friday.
6th, and you say the heat's not on?
He will be on next week.
Oh, okay.
If you could send a reminder to us all
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
that, please, as an email. Yeah, we can meet, is there a
Meet
place to
there.
meet
Yeah, I'm
there?
looking at the,
Yeah.
this is December sixth,
Yeah,
you said,
Yeah, Friday, December sixth,
and that, and what time? 11 you said?
11:30?
o'clock. We
I
do
think
lunch
11.
and then we do the raffle.
This thing is.
So then you're
the same
going
day
from
or
that, you
later.
go to your party that
That's
night?
different.
Right, so the safety meeting would be in Kingsley?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, at the facility, new facility.
Okay, I just have some doctor's
That's a
appointments that
long
day,
day, man.
so I'm gonna try to see if I can reschedule my procedure. Okay, so safety meeting 11.
So if you could, kindly please send an email with with a reminder with the time.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All the
If I
stuff
can
you have
whip
to do
something
for
up
me.
for the- I'm not gonna do camera systems like I did last time, but I think I could probably whip up.
All right.
I don't think
Couple of
rearranging
cool things.
surgery, but we'll see.
Any future agenda items that the board wants to see for the next 2 weeks, 3 meetings? Okay. All right, I don't have anything to add. So,
Go adjourn.
Support.
all right, we are adjourned.